The only question is, will Conservatives give...
Well, Madam Speaker, this Prime Minister has an economic resume, all right, an economic resume of offshoring tax money to foreign tax havens. Families are cutting back on meals. Young people are waiting to start a family. They're waiting to buy their first family home. Meanwhile, media is reporting that the Prime Minister's company stashed billions in offshore tax havens to avoid paying taxes. We've heard testimony that this Prime Minister's company dodged $5.3 billion in taxes from 2021 to 2024. That's a lot of programs, Madam Speaker. Again, can the Prime Minister confirm to Canadians that he has no investments in offshore tax havens, yes or no? Yep.
This guy's garage. Like and subscribe.
Questions orales, oral questions, honorable député.
After 10 years, Liberal insiders and elites never had it so good as the Prime Minister forces young Canadians to make sacrifices. Young Canadians can't afford a home, yet CMHC execs got $30 million in bonuses for helping contribute to the Liberal-made housing crisis. Over 700,000 kids line up at a food bank every month, yet EDC execs get $45 million in bonuses for helping cover Liberal incompetence on COVID benefits. How many more sacrifices do young Canadians have to make so the Prime Minister can keep lining the pockets of his elitist buddies?
The Honourable Leader of the Government in the House.
Madam Speaker, my honourable friend, well, you know what he's done? Time after time after time after time, the measures that would help Canadian youth, they're against them. Whether it be student loan relief, whether it be the fund or the savings program for first-time home buyers, whether it be creating and building national projects that are going to give opportunities to young people from coast to coast to coast. This member stands in his place and votes against it every single time, Madam Speaker.
Member for Calgary.
If any of those programs actually work, 700,000 kids wouldn't be lined up at food banks every single month. And incompetence pays in this government. Just look at the Justice Minister. A Liberal-made housing crisis, a Liberal-made cost of living crisis, a Liberal-made food bank crisis. Liberal insiders and elitists get paid to enable Liberal failures. When will the Prime Minister stop rewarding Liberal incompetence and actually give Canadians an affordable budget for an affordable life?
The Honourable Leader of the Government in the House.
Madam Speaker, it's Halloween, and we certainly want to wish a happy Halloween to all Canadians. There's another big holiday coming up. Canadians would like to have a Christmas, a holiday season in peace. No ads with the Leader of the Opposition, that Grinchy guy, screaming at them through their television screens or their telephone screens, Madam Speaker. Mr. The finance critic on the other side should stand in his place right now and tell Canadians they can be off the hook. We're not going to have an election. We're going to vote for that great Liberal budget.
The Honourable Member for Dufferin-Caledon.
Sacrifice more. That's the message this Liberal Prime Minister just gave to young Canadians. You know, the young Canadians living through generationally high youth unemployment. Young Canadians who have mostly given up hope of ever owning a home. Yep. Meanwhile, Liberal insiders get rich. Liberal appointed executives at BDC are getting on average a bonus of $216,000. A young Canadian would be desperate to have that as a salary. So as the budget approaches, what sacrifices are these young people being asked to make while they get Liberal insiders rich bonuses?
Right on.
The Honourable Secretary of State.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The members opposite claim to be there for youth or to be concerned about youth, and yet at every opportunity when there is a chance to vote for investments and supports for our young people and families, they vote against. They will have another opportunity in this budget to support the tax cut on first-time homebuyers, to support the permanence of the National School Food Program, to support continued investments in early learning and childcare. I hope that they will join us in avoiding a Christmas election by supporting the budget. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Dufferin-Caledon.
The question actually was about young Canadians and what they're going to be asked to sacrifice, which of course they didn't answer. Young Canadians are going to have to figure that out in the budget, and sacrifice they have. They've sacrificed by not being able to own a home. They've sacrificed by having generationally high youth unemployment. And this Liberal message is, We passed all these things. Things should be better, except they're not. Yeah. 700,000 children now at a food bank despite their programs. Youth unemployment is the highest it's been in a generation despite their programs. Their programs aren't working, and their economics is driving young people into unemployment.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Conservatives claim to care about young people, yet every time a measure comes to support them, they vote against it. They voted against a national housing strategy, the first home savings account, against expanding mortgage criteria, and now they won't commit to voting for cutting the GST that would save first-time home buyers $50,000. Don't worry, Madam Speaker. Canadians know that Liberals are here to support them, and we hope that the other side can show they're really serious and they care about young people by supporting our budget on November 4th and avoiding a Christmas election. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Member for Parkland.
Madam Speaker, media has reported that Brookfield Asset Management, under the guidance of the Prime Minister, stashed money in Bermuda to avoid paying $5.3 billion in taxes between 2021 and 2024. What is it with these Liberal Prime Ministers and their billionaire islands? They just can't resist it. While the Prime Minister tells young Canadians that they need to sacrifice, the Prime Minister dodges the bill himself. We are supposed to be in this together, but it appears that the Prime Minister, in his role as chair of Brookfield, is avoiding paying his fair share of taxes. Can the Prime Minister confirm, does he have any investments in offshore tax havens? Yes or no?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Madam Speaker, Canadians know that our economy faces significant headwinds due to the trade tensions with the United States, and Canadians knew that, and that's exactly why they voted for this government and a Prime Minister with the economic resume to get us through turbulent times and build a stronger economy. Next week on November 4th, we'll present our first budget as a new government, which will focus on jobs and opportunities, which will focus on growth and productivity, which will make generational investments to unlock new opportunities for youth and all Canadians. The only question is, will Conservatives give...
The Honourable Member for Parkland.
Well, Madam Speaker, this Prime Minister has an economic resume, all right, an economic resume of offshoring tax money to foreign tax havens. Families are cutting back on meals. Young people are waiting to start a family. They're waiting to buy their first family home. Meanwhile, media is reporting that the Prime Minister's company stashed billions in offshore tax havens to avoid paying taxes. We've heard testimony that this Prime Minister's company dodged $5.3 billion in taxes from 2021 to 2024. That's a lot of programs, Madam Speaker. Again, can the Prime Minister confirm to Canadians that he has no investments in offshore tax havens? Yes or no?
Yes. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
The only thing more frightening this Halloween than the Conservatives' disinformation in this House is a Christmas election, which nobody wants. The Conservatives are proposing to force an election on Canadians at a time when they expect this Parliament to stand together. Our budget on November 4th is going to present a strong path to build a stronger Canada, to unlock opportunities for all Canadians, to boost productivity and growth in this country, and the Conservatives will vote against. They've already said it. They haven't even seen the budget, and they're going to vote against. They're going to force a Christmas election upon Canadians. There's nothing more spooky than that.
Yeah. And
Madam Speaker, after 10 years of this government, Liberal elites and insiders have never had it so good. But the Prime Minister told young Canadians they need to sacrifice. While Canadians are lined up at food banks, this Liberal government hired the Prime Minister's buddies to staff his new defence procurement and major projects offices. He's paying them $679,000 and $577,000 salary. Of course, he's paying the woman less. That's his track record. So this, at a time when Canadians are struggling to afford to live. Will this Prime Minister stop making young people sacrifice so he can line the pockets of...
The Honourable Secretary of State.
Madam Speaker, I know the party opposite has had a bad week and they're focused on their leader, but we're focused on affordability, we're focused on building Canada. Madam Speaker, on November 4th, we are going to come forth with a generational budget that will invest in Canada. We will...
You have order, so I don't have to give the Honourable Member the opportunity to answer from the top. The Honourable Member, the Honourable Secretary of State, 60.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I know the party has had a difficult week with their leader, and they're focused on anything but we are focused on affordability and building Canada. On November 4th, we will come forth with a generational budget that will invest in Canada, we will invest in Canadians, we will build this country because we believe in Canada. Thank you.
The honourable member for Sarnia-Lambton, Quejanon.
Well, so far they've built a record-smashing 2.2 million food bank visits, and over 700,000 of those are children. Rent has doubled. According to the Canadian Income Survey, 380,000 seniors are living in poverty. They can't afford homes, and they can't even afford food. Some of them are living in their cars. When will this Prime Minister stop using taxpayer dollars to make his rich friends richer and finally give Canadians an affordable budget for an affordable life?
The Honourable Secretary of State.
Madam Speaker, we will take no lessons from the Conservatives. Madam Speaker, on November 4th, we're laser focused on delivering a generational budget. We will invest in Canada, we will invest in Canadians, we will invest in infrastructure, defence projects, and housing. Madam Speaker, we believe in Canada. We will build Canada into the strongest economy in the G7. I hope the members opposite will join us and pass our budget and not cause a Christmas election. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Member for Tecumseh, Williamsbury.
Right when this Prime Minister was telling young Canadians they would have to make sacrifices, he was signing off for bonuses for Liberal elites. These taxpayer-funded payouts included $11 million for the fat cats at Via Rail, $30 million for the bureaucrats at Canada Mortgage and Housing, and $60 million for the bankers at the Business Development Bank, all while everyday Canadians struggle to afford the necessities of life. Instead of asking Canadians to sacrifice more, why doesn't the Prime Minister cut off insiders cashing in on Canadians' misery?
The Honourable Secretary of State.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. We do understand the pressures that Canadians are facing, and at the same time, the Conservative Party offers really nothing new. Our government is empowering young Canadians to build lifelong careers. This is one of the reasons we are fast-tracking the Build Canada Homes program, to get homes built, to fast-track major projects, to create tens of thousands of high-paying careers across this country. Those careers are available to young people, and we know that they're at the heart of building Canada strong, building the strongest economy in the G7, and we encourage members opposite to support the budget and avoid a Christmas election.
The honourable member for Tecumseh, Williamsburg.
Madam Speaker, it's impressive the Liberals are actually recognizing Christmas. Canadians are being asked to pull the wagon through the mud while Liberal cronies ride comfortably on top. The government isn't worried about families lining up at food banks. They're too busy lining the pockets of insiders. They're not bothered with cutting home prices. They're too focused on cutting checks to bumbling bureaucrats. They don't care about rising debt and inflationary deficits so long as the money keeps flowing to the Liberal elites. When will this Prime Minister stop using tax dollars to reward his friends?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I see the Conservative misinformation spin cycle just continues and continues, but it never produces a grain of truth. If the Conservatives want the truth, we'll tell them the truth. The true story is that the Conservatives never stand up in this House when it comes time to support youth. They voted against, actively undermined their futures by voting against student loan support, by voting against grants for students. They voted against a national housing strategy many times in this House. They voted against a tax-free savings accounts for youth to help them realize the dream of home ownership. They voted against the national school food program.
The honourable member for Kenora, Kuwitino.
According to the Liberals' own numbers, they overspent on the bureaucracy at FedNor by 60% of what was planned last year, Madam Speaker. That's $2.7 million spent on themselves that should have been used to support communities across Northern Ontario. Madam Speaker, while people across the country are struggling with housing costs that have doubled and a record 2.2 million people are visiting food banks, the Liberals continue to fund bureaucracy. So, Madam Speaker, when are they finally going to stop their out-of-control spending and deliver an affordable budget for an affordable life?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Well, Madam Speaker, we keep hearing about the Conservatives and their deep concern for youth, but they continue to vote against any project or program that would support the youth of this country. They vote against it all, Madam Speaker, and I'd like for once to hear exactly what they would reduce in order to meet their absurd budget demands. Let's have a good budget, an affordable budget on November 4th, and let's have the support of the Conservatives opposite.
Langley.
Madam Speaker, on Halloween we expected ghosts and goblins, not ghoulish government spending. But this Prime Minister told students they need to make more sacrifices, more spooky words from a government that's already drained their wallets. Young Canadians are haunted by high prices, buried under debt, and scared stiff for their futures. The Liberal spending is out of control. It's a fiscal fright fest. When will this government stop its reckless tricks and finally give Canadians the treat of affordability?
That's right.
Honourable Secretary of State.
Mr. Speaker, it's fortunate that next week we will have an affordable budget for Canadians, and we hope that the members opposite will join us in supporting that budget. It will include many ways to invest in young people, in young families, in making homes more affordable, in making food available at schools, and making dental care available, and a number of other things that will support Canadian families. I trust they will support us and avoid a Christmas election. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Abbotsford South Langley.
Madam Speaker, Canadians have been struggling for a decade. They have got nothing left to give. Canadians are being told to cut back while this Liberal government refuses to cut their own wasteful spending. Nationwide, food bank visits have hit 2.2 million, including 700,000 children. In my province of BC alone, food bank visits went up 80% since 2019. Canadians can't afford groceries or basic necessities. They certainly can't afford another Liberal budget.
That's right.
When will this Prime Minister finally deliver an affordable budget for an affordable life?
That's right.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Conservatives claim to care about youth and affordability, but on this side, we're about solutions, not slogans. We've cutting income taxes, cutting GST for first-time home buyers, putting together a national school food program, launching Build Canada Home to increase home affordability. We've launched Office of Major Project. Canadians don't live in a pretend world. They know we're here to help them, support them, make life more affordable, and build the strongest economy of the G7. So we hope you can support us and show you really care about youth and affordability on November 4th. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, an agreement was finally reached last night at the APEC summit in South Korea. Unfortunately, the agreement was between the United States and China to reduce tariffs, but not Canada. This Prime Minister flew to Asia, met with the Chinese president, had a nice photo op, but still no deal. Madam Speaker, in this international game of deal or no deal, why is it always no deal for Canada from this Prime Minister?
That's right.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I want to reassure that Canada is on the diplomatic stage every day, both diversifying trade and defending Canadian interests. We will continue to work every day to ensure that Canadian businesses, Canadian citizens, Canadian residents are well protected in everything we do. We will continue to negotiate every trade deal we can. The United States is our biggest trading partner. We're ready to be at that table while we continue to diversify the trade around the world. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Regina Wascana.
Madam Speaker, it's not just Chinese canola tariffs that are punishing Canadian farmers. India has slapped a 30% tariff on Canadian peas and a 10% tariff on lentils. Canada cannot export beef to the United Kingdom, but the UK can and does export beef to Canada. When will this Prime Minister finally stop with the photo ops and finally get a deal for Canadian producers?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Speaker, we will always stand up for Canadian farmers, whether they are beef farmers or farmers who grow wheat in our country, and we will make sure that we will get the best deal for them all around the world, and that is the work the Prime Minister is doing. He's been in Asia meeting with various leaders from around the world to make sure that we open new market, new opportunities for Canadians so that we can double our non-US exports over the next decade, and we will do that for Canadian farmers, for Canadian manufacturers, and for Canadian workers.
The Honourable Member for Vaughan Woodbridge.
Food Bank Canada report a record-smashing 2.2 million visits to the food bank in just 1 month, the most ever. The CEO of Food Bank Canada said she is shocked that people are stopping at the food bank on their way home from work because they can't afford groceries. She said, and I quote, "It's really shocking to see how far people are falling behind every single day," end quote. After a decade of liberal deficits and inflationary spending, people just can't keep up. When will they realize their inflationary deficits are driving up the cost of food and driving people to the food bank?
Honourable Secretary of State.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I think it's important to once again underline the fact that the report that the members opposite cite also lists, inclusive of the Canada Disability Benefit, the Canadian Dental Plan, Early Learning and Childcare, the National School Food Program, the National Housing Strategy, among the many tools and investments that support alleviating poverty in this country, all of which have been voted against or opposed by the members opposite. We will have a budget next week that will continue to invest in Canadians, in young Canadians and families, and we trust they will join us and vote for the budget and avoid a Christmas election. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Vaughan Woodbridge.
The only people who seem to want a Christmas election is this Liberal government. Canadians don't want Liberals to force a costly election. They want an affordable budget. The Liberal government doesn't seem to get it. We have record Liberal deficits and a record number of people who can't afford food. 2.2 million people lining up at food banks. Over 700,000 of them are children. The more they spend, the more Canadians pay at the grocery store. So, will they present an affordable budget so families can afford to feed themselves?
Great question.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Well, Madam Speaker, it is disheartening to know that Conservatives don't even read the report that they quote in this House. It's obvious because the very report that they're quoting from Food Banks Canada asks our government to move forward with income assistance for people living with a disability. They ask for a dental care plan. They acknowledge the work of addressing the housing supply issues in this country. And they also mention a national school food program, which that party has voted against time and time again in this House. When it comes time to take 400,000 kids out of food bank lineups, what does the opposition say? They say no.
The Honourable Member for Cambridge.
Madam Speaker, first the Liberals made it unaffordable to feed your kids. Now they want applause for feeding them. Canadians used to line up at the grocery store. Today, they line up by the millions at food banks. Under the Liberals, Canadians are working full-time and eating part-time because paychecks shrink while grocery bills balloon. 82% of Canadian households say they don't have enough food to eat. In college, 82% gets you an A. But for the Prime Minister, 82% of Canadians going hungry means a giant F. When will this Prime Minister stop failing Canadians and allow families to feed their own kids in their homes?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Again, as I said, Conservatives claim to care about youth and affordability, but on this side, we're about solutions, not slogan, right? You're voting to cut. We're cutting income taxes, reducing GST for first-time home buyer. We're putting forward the National School Food Program. We're putting a number of measures to increase affordability, increasing the supply of home in order to lower rent. We're here for Canadians. Canadians don't live in a pretend world. They know what's going on. They know which party is there for them. That's why they voted for us on April 28th. We hope you can vote for our budget on November 4th. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Windsor, Windsor, Lakeshore.
Madam Speaker, each month in Canada there are over 2.2 million visits to food banks. We talk about these numbers every day and we watch them increase every month. These aren't just numbers, colleagues. These are the people that we serve. Many of them are workers whose paychecks haven't gone up the way grocery prices have. This Liberal government, however, thinks that Canadians should sacrifice even more. When will this Prime Minister give Canadians an affordable budget for an affordable life?
The Honourable Secretary of State.
Madam Speaker, we've got good news for the Conservatives. They can help 5.5 million Canadians. Do you know how? They can support us on automatic federal benefits, giving benefits directly to 5.5 million Canadians, those that need it the most. But, Madam Speaker, the party opposite has a choice to make. Will they listen to their Grinch leader and not support our budget and cause a Christmas election? Or will they join with us and pass a generational budget offering hope and affordability to Canadians? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Edmonton Manning.
Madam Speaker, the Edmonton Food Bank is serving more people now than any time in its 43 years history. Requests for food hampers are up 42% in the last 30 months. Food Bank Canada reports record use with 2.2 million visits in a single month. It took decades to hit 1 million and only 6 years under these Liberals to double it to 2 million. Madam Speaker, when will this Prime Minister finally give Canadians an affordable budget for an affordable life?
Hear, hear. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This feels a little bit disconnected when just last session we saw the opposition vote against a national school food program. But good news, they have a chance to do what's right, to correct their error of the past, and vote to support our budget in just a few days' time to make that program permanent. Will they do that, Madam Speaker, or will they vote for a Christmas election that nobody wants?
The Honourable Member for Poilievre.
The Prime Minister told young Canadians that they need to sacrifice more. Yet, when he ran Brookfield, he did anything but that. He hid money in a Caribbean island to dodge Canadian taxes. Not at a bank, mind you, but through a bike shop in Bermuda. And if this is the kind of sage financial advice that we are meant to follow, I wonder if we expect the owner of that bike shop to be appointed the next Liberal Minister of Finance. So a simple question, Madam Speaker, will the Prime Minister confirm that he is not stashing cash on offshore havens?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Madam Speaker, we've got a generational budget coming on November 4th that's going to be building on the successes of the past couple of months. Successes that include today announcing billions in new investments in critical minerals, 20 deals with countries across the world. This is just going to build on that, Madam Speaker. This budget is exactly what's needed for this moment. I hope the Conservatives support it and help us avoid a Christmas election that absolutely nobody wants.
The Honourable Member for Portage-Lisbon.
Just like the Prime Minister, an avoidance of an answer, because since day one, the Prime Minister has dodged public disclosure of his financial holdings. He's flipped through every excuse in the book, but he's finally running out of pages. This week, 163 Liberal MPs tried to protect their leader from scrutiny, but they failed. Conservatives passed a motion to investigate his corporate connections and potential conflicts. Instead of hiding behind a cloak of secrecy, he should finally come clean. So I will ask again, Madam Speaker, can the Prime Minister confirm he has not a single dollar stashed away in offshore tax havens?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Madam Speaker, Canadians are rightly focused on the real issues. We face a dangerous and changing world, one that demands big responses, and you're going to see big responses in the November 4th budget. We've already heard about many of the initiatives that are coming out of it. Madam Speaker, I hope the members opposite will support this budget, avoid a Christmas election, and help Canada lead in the G7.
The member for Lander, Frontenac.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, if we were to learn that China uses convict labor drawn disproportionately from Indigenous minorities to produce products to be sold commercially by the prison system, we would condemn this and we would ban that product. So what are we supposed to think of a report from the Aboriginal People's Television Network that milk produced at the Joyceville prison farm by inmates paid less than $1 an hour is being sold by Corcan for profit? Canada's correctional investigator says that in his view this represents, quote, a human rights violation. I agree with him and I wonder, why is the government doing this?
Great question. L'honorable secrétaire parlementaire.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Madam Speaker, the programs in correctional services in Canada giving inmates opportunities to learn new skills mean that when they leave jail, they will be able to find work. They will not end up in a cycle where they're back in jail. These are programs that inmates appreciate and the Canadian public does as well.
Go to the next question. The Honourable Member for Saanich Gulf Islands.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I wonder if Canadians realize how much many of us as MPs want to be Team Canada. We want to be united, and we know we need to put Canada first. Yet the Canada Pension Plan Investment Board Act requires that we ignore whether Canada's put first when they decide where billions of dollars of our pension get invested. Will this government update the Investment Board act to make sure Canada comes first?
The Honourable Leader of the Government in the House.
Madam Speaker, Canada's pension plans, the Maple 8 and others, lead the world not only in securing returns and a prosperous future for our retirees and our pensioners, but lead the world in ethical and above-board investments all over the world, including in Canada. The CPPIB and other pension funds in this country will continue, I'm sure, to take investing in Canada very, very seriously.